Okay. Good day, everyone. Welcome to our webinar session. And thank you for joining us today. So the webinar series, Scientific Publishing in the Digital Age, is brought to you by IES Research, a team that provides research publication with an engaging voice through the adaptation of the IES storyboard of Big Why, Why, and What. We design visuals and animations to support your research findings, maximize the understanding of the discoveries, and share your story globally to improve research visibility and increase scholarly engagement. My name is Iris Xu, and I'm your host for the day. With us today is Casey Tan and Dr. Han Wenchang from IES Research. Hi, Casey. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Hello, everyone.
Hi. Casey is a research outreach consultant, and his consultancy work focuses on using social media to communicate research findings to wider audience. He uses various platforms like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram to create an omni-channel experience, helping researchers to seek collaboration from other disciplines. The other guest today is Dr. Han Wenchang. Hi, Han Wen, how are you?
Hi, Iris. How are you? Good. Thank you.
Okay. Hi. Dr. Han Wenchang is also an IES research consultant focusing on data analysis. Her previous experience with Thomson Reuters gives her extensive knowledge on bibliometric indicators such as impact factors, H index, etc. Now with IES research, she explores the potential of mashing up traditional bibliometrics with analytics from social media. So today's session, we will start with Casey's sharing on how to bring scientific research closer to the right audience. And then he will invite Han Wen to join in to form a discussion from the perspective of data analysis. So please feel free to ask any questions throughout the session by simply using the Q&A toolbar located at the bottom center of the Zoom meeting interface. Now, without further ado, let me move the ground to Casey to begin the session. Casey, or yours.
Right, thanks Iris for the introduction. So as Iris mentioned, my name is Casey Tang, and I'm actually attached to a company called IES Research. So what we do is basically we help to, my role is basically focuses a lot on helping researchers to do their promotion after the paper has been published, and we usually do the outreaching activities to reach out to targeted communities, stakeholders, according to their objective. So I am aware that I think within the audience today, we basically sort of like we have two groups of people, right? One was be coming from the publisher side, and another group would be on the researcher side. So which group that you belongs to, there is one question that I think we always would wonder, like we want how can we bring our research closer to the right audience that we wish to target, right? Whether it's from a researcher perspective, you have come up with an amazing discovery you wish to share to the right people who knows how to appreciate your work and use it and apply it on their work and the application, right? So same goes to from the publisher perspective. Let's say you are a publisher yourself, you would definitely wants to look at more build up your branding, your improving your reputation within that particular field, and of course you were looking at improving your impact factor as well, right? So all these things would ties up with the same methodology where you need to promote your research. So how do we do that? So a little bit of background of this is basically our core business, like what I will share. We do promotion, but how do we actually do the outreaching or carry out promotional activities? First of all, we need a story, right? When you want to share something to another party, another group of audiences or stakeholders, what you need first is definitely a story, right? you heard a lot about research storytelling and so on. So basically that's what we do, where we help to initially curate research publications into a one single landing page. I mean, in our case, we brand it as IES Story. So IES Story is basically a one-page landing page that is hosted on our platform online, which consists of the plain language summary, graphical abstract, videos, or even podcasts. So in layman terms, you could see IES Story is like a one-page highlight or a trailer or even a teaser of your research publication paper. So after we have done this thing here, and we tend to put every different components or mediums into one location, right? Because that is basically to cater for the different different interests of the choices that your audience would prefers to comprehend your work. Let's say someone who prefers reading, they could read the plain language summary. Someone is not so much a word person, they need some sort of graphics in order to ease their understanding, then they could take a look at your graphical abstract. Or if they would like to watch a video, then they would watch the video, the short video bite of it to get what it means. Usually it's between 1 to 2 minutes kind of a snapshot. Or even lately, there's another trend that being booming among the Western countries, even Japan. It's podcasts, right? Podcast is somewhere in between the video and also the text surveys, because it creates a whole new space for people to basically multitask while they are doing other courses, right? When you're watching a video, your eyes need to be very focused. You need to focus on every second, every moment, because once you miss this part, then you probably couldn't link up to what is upcoming. Same goes to reading. You need to be a lot of focus. But podcast is something, why is it so something that people adopting recently, is because of the multitask. They could probably driving along the highway. They could even at their home doing some calls, do their chores. They could also listen up the podcast to see what are the latest findings or research related to their work. So we put everything together at one location to form this highlight. Then what we do next is to leveraging on social media, power of social media marketing, social media channels to reach out to targeted audience and communities depending on who you want to target and what's your objective are. So we utilize this platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I know some of our audience here are from China as well. So if let's say you are reaching out to China researchers, you have no choice but to use WeChat or Weibo. Okay, but regardless of what platform you use, it all boils down to the same methodology, but it's just depending on where your audiences are. So researchers from China, if you want to reach out global audiences outside from China, you have to use places like Facebook and Twitter, and vice versa. If let's say researchers from Indonesia or Malaysia, you want to reach out to China researchers, then you have to use back their local platform as well. So that's the whole key. We will use this and utilizes their ads targeting capability to drive traffic back to this one page highlight. So you could imagine the phenomenal as it's like how before you watch a movie, what do you usually watch? A trailer, right? And where do you usually comes across a trailer? Social media channels. So from there, you watch a short trailer of it and it would spikes up some interest or curiosity. Then you would click on the link and it would divert the traffic back to this IES story page for further understanding. And let's say they like what they read and they felt that, this is something that I want to know more. I would like to read the full text or even provide a citation. Then there will be a link from within the page to drive back the traffic to the original source of publication. It's not linked directly to the full text because that one it's illegal. So what we do is basically a linkage. So let's say, for example, if this paper is published under Elsevier and it's a closed journal, then the link will link it back to Elsevier's platform. So they would need a subscription to Elsevier in order to retrieve the full text. Yes, there is someone raised their hand. Ivy, yep. Any questions you have you would like to ask? And also Namita. Any questions you have, you can just drop it out at the Q&A toolbar there, and later we will aggregate them and answer them together. Okay. So yep, there's one question commonly. I mean, this is basically the whole flow of research outreach. After you have published a paper, then you do the promotion, diving back to the thing, and eventually, from based on the data that we have, this whole cycle could possibly improve the full text readership by over 30%. Okay. And the next question I think a lot of people would have in mind is that why are we doing, after doing all these things, all this effort in promoting research marketing, learning sort of things, what is the implication? Does it improve citation, or does it, or what is the implication part? So I will leave this as a cliffhanger as I present along. You will get the answer at the end of the sharing today. So this is basically my agenda. That's the introduction, and this is my agenda for today's sharing. My sharing will be approximately just 30 minutes. So I'll run through a couple of things that after we have done the outreaching part here, what are the implications, and you can see that utilizing social media, the power of social media is that it's mainly for the precise targeting approach. Why people use digital marketing, social media these days is solely because of they could target very precise audience. Then after that, you heard of some of the online visibility metrics such as like Alt metric or Plummax metrics. All these are like indicator for how visible is your paper online, how many people like tweet about it, post about it, talk about it, blog about it. All these things will captures and create a whole lots of like digital footprint within the online community. And what is good? The good thing about promoting online is there's no one rule that fits all. Okay, you need that.
那 portrait 还是 live 的
Live.
Sorry. Okay. Yep. Yep. So basically, there is the whole beauty of this whole using the online promotion is that you need to constantly do optimization. You optimize your message and towards the direction of improving citation count, or eventually even leading to impact. So to break down this into further detail, so you could see, and as I mentioned earlier, there are two groups of audiences here. One is from the individual researcher, the other one is from the publisher perspective. So the first section here, it applies to both. The benefit applies to both. Where if you are from the researcher perspective, you certainly would like to reach out to the right group of audience. You would like to know specifically target certain countries or etc. to improve your readership, to build up the awareness of your paper. Remember that one important point of doing outreaching is that the main idea is to create awareness and to make sure people are aware of your paper and their eyeballs looking at it. Because the saddest part of being publishing a paper is that after you publish a paper, after 10 years or 5 to 10 years time, no one even aware of your paper. So it's not about your paper is good or bad, it's that I don't even know that the existence of this discovery at all. So that is the saddest part as being publishing a paper. So on the publisher perspective, it's the other way around. You would like to attract eyeballs to your journal to improve your readership as well, because you want to stay competitive. You want to stay up to date with what are the people your site visiting, ultimately improving your impact factor as well. So I'll run through these three components, which is my sharing. So I'll start off by precise targeting. So this is basically an overview of why, coming from a background of content marketing myself, but I over time basically switched my focus to find my niche, to focus solely on doing marketing promotion for research, right? So but these three items here are basically an overview of why researchers are going towards this direction as well, utilizing social media, especially during this whole pandemic situation today. So think about it. In the past, what are the most used medium channels that researchers would use to do promotion? Most cases, they rely a lot on like physically traveling to a certain international conference to do a presentation of their paper. They could create some posters or graphical abstract exhibition to share their work. So a lot of all these things involves traveling and physical promotion, right? But within this 2 years time, since last year, this entire pandemic hits in, researchers no longer able to do that. So a lot of times we are trying to find out what are the ways that you could still do promotion, which is go online. It's not only research. I mean, a lot of even traditional businesses right now, if they want to sustain within this whole pandemic, they have to switch their business model to somehow related to online. Even you see a lot of sellers, they will go online to go on, like turn on the Facebook Live to sell seafood or sell basically almost anything. They could go online to do the selling. And what is the reason for it is because they could reach out to a wider pool of audiences compared to the amount of time they could invest on physical selling or physical promotion. So, but with that said, this is not an idea that just comes up within this because of this pandemic. In fact, 3 to 5 years ago, I mean, researchers in the Western countries are constantly doing such promotion by themselves. Okay, if you go to Twitter, you search out for some of the tweets, you are aware that there are a lot of researchers there. Basically, they are consistently doing tweets about their own work and replying tweets and to build a connection with different among different researchers globally. So that's the whole beauty of how we're trying to adopt the whole social media content marketing for research and brings it back to Asia. So with that said, to summarize out why people use it, there are basically 3 T's when it comes to social media marketing channel. The first T is because you could target. Remember, this topic is about how do you bring it to the right audience. You need to be as precise as possible, where you need to utilize the Facebook or any Twitter or Instagram advertisement, because of the whole big data that they have been collected throughout the decades. I believe you guys agree, or you are aware that you realize anything today when you go online, your behavior, your interests are somewhat being stalked by these big players, either Google or Facebook or whatever searches that you do. They will basically create a profile of each individual, so they have the data of our behavior and they knows that what are the topic that will interest us. So utilizing the same tool, when we form a group of audiences among researchers itself, they could certainly knows that let's say if I'm a researcher, they will certainly know that I am basically focused on what area, what are the content, or let's say if I'm doing on cancer research, what kind of cancer uh, implication that would interest me, or what kind of cancer solution or methodology or new discovery would interest me. They have all these data itself, but of course they wouldn't let you know because to protect their privacy, but they could spin the whole business model into within the ads. So what we do is to make use of the data that they have to target our content specifically to who we want to see. And it's not just like creating a Facebook page and posting a post there and hoping any Tom, Dick, and Harry would read your paper, right? No, we need to use their ads to focus, laser beam into, zoom in down to which are the country that you want, which are the audience size, their age, their searches, the subject area, whether they need to be interested in citation or they are a PhD holder within attached to a specific university. You could target very precisely. And the second T here is the tracking. So not only you could target, but you could also track whether what are the feedback, what are the engagements rate that people are looking at. Are they what is working and what is not. If I spend X amount of money on this advertisement promoting this particular post, what do I get in return in terms of the clicks? How many people are basically clicking to my full text? How many people are just looking at it and they just screen through? They did not do any engagement. They not even share the post. Every detail here we could track. So that's the reason. The second reason. And the last reason is the T. The last T is basically the tweaking. So you could also change and test out multiple different ads or different content within your journal. So I'll share some examples later on how this is done. But basically, the idea is that anything that you've done physically, like you create a poster or you print out some banner or flyer to hand out to the conference there, and maybe 1 or 2 months later you felt that that message doesn't seem right, or I doesn't like this diagram anymore, I have a better table or diagram to illustrate this message. What do you need to do? You probably in the past you need to purchase a ticket and re-attend another conference again. But when it comes to the space of social media, you do not have to do that. When you do not like this thing, you could just change. You don't like the color of this tone, like you want to change a different headline, you could tie out different message, you could just tweak it as you go. I mean, you could run out different A/B testing kind of ads to find out which is working, which is not. So that's the beauty and how we could find the precise targeting, even from the space of publisher or researcher. You could target policymakers, you could target funders, you could target researchers from other discipline. Everything can be done here. So yep, this one is the examples of different profiling. Like we let Facebook know we will basically, this is from example from Facebook. So we could list out the different filtering part, how we want to create our custom audience pool, and Facebook will match that post to basically within their big database itself. So there are 4 areas part. How can we, some guidance or tips on how can we narrow down and find the right audience that we wish to target. So we start off by analyzing the few keywords. We come up with specific keywords for certain papers, and you will come up with different and match it up with some key phrases as well. Or in digital marketing term, they call it like long tail of keywords, because sometimes keyword itself by itself, it means very little and it wouldn't be, it's very wide. For example, like one research paper within your full text itself, you could see keywords like individual keywords like measurement, technology, engineering. I mean, these are keywords, not to say it's bad, but the purpose of having this keyword is mainly for to distinguish among different category and sort. Like, let's say from a glance, I know that okay, this is related to engineering. But when it comes to targeting, if you just put in the word engineering, it's very wide, right? It couldn't be like engineering from mechanical, electrical, or civil engineering. So it could be your audience would be quite wide as well. So we will need to tweak it out into something more specific to form a phrase. You could target different interests within, added in some additional words to form a short phrase. Then they will improve the specificity of your target audience. Then what we should be doing next is to find out to do a citation analysis. You cross-check these keywords with the citation analysis database like Dimension or Scopus or Web of Science to find out which are the top countries that heavily have a high citation within their keywords, or have a very high output when it comes to citation. Okay, so this publication, so that would gives you an indicator of roughly you will know that okay, that particular country has a is interested with my content, so I will target my ads to to a few countries, like 3 to 5 countries, whether it's Brazil, Spain, or India. You could shortlist those countries, and you could target those ads, run those ads to this country to see the response. So, and also the last part, you could also filter up by communities. You could come up with government agencies or academic universities. You could even target specific university like Harvard University, for example. You could target, you could put that into the filtering list as well. And another quick tip is that you could also create a lookalike audience. Lookalike audience, like let's say you're borrowing the audiences from Elsevier, Thomson Reuters, Springer Nature. So you could add in a layer of filtering that anyone must matches this keyword criteria from this country, from this field university, and he or she must also being a follower of Elsevier or Thomson Reuters. So that case, it would further zoom down that this person has to be like something related to research or is a researcher before they could see the ads itself. So I see there's one question here. Who is the target audience for the IES story? Okay, this one, IES story basically it's there are we could do multiple version of IES story, but in general, IES story is meant for a wider discipline audience, which means that researchers in other discipline. Okay, we have not stepped into public science at the moment because we do not, our intention basically, most of it is still try to help researchers to improve the readership. And I believe that public wouldn't read your full text, right? Even though we do a promotion of IES story, public, maybe your parents visited it, they wouldn't read the full text. Only researchers would able to retrieve and read your full text or eventually cite your paper. So the main target group of audience would still be researchers in other discipline. And furthermore, it could extend to other stakeholders like funders or policymakers, but that would need a different version of IES story. Basically, you need to rewrite some of the content, the style, in order to cater for that group of audience. Okay. So that's the first section here. So at the second section is where after you do all this promotion, you need to optimize the message, right? As I mentioned, there's no one size that fits all. You need to try it out because it all truly depends on a few factors like the nature of the topic and also the different target audience. You would see like someone from Brazil, the copywriting style or the people that they prefer to comprehend certain language can be very different to someone in Germany or in Spain. You know, the way the style, the copywriting is all differs according to your audience, even though it's same researchers, but the way they see things are quite different. I give you an example. Is like the perfect example, I have a customer in Taiwan, for example. You know, in let's say in Taiwan itself, I met one customer before, but they told me that can we try to minimize the use or remove the usage of those pictures that we use on Facebook. Like we do a post, sometimes we do like some posting involving human or those Caucasian people, Caucasian faces, because they felt that we prefer something more Asian looking kind of sort of thing. And but let's say you are targeting this ad towards the Western country or someone in Germany itself, then that ad would fit in very well. But let's say in the other way around, you're targeting the same ad to different Asian market. Their preference would be like they might not be so engaging when it comes to looking at such a image. So it's always to find out. And how do you find out that? Is through the optimization, through the process of you running the ads, and you'll monitor the analytics and do the comparison to see whether people comment on it and how are the readership, the click rate, and so on. So that's the optimization part. So I'll show you some samples here. So this is like two posts that we posted that we managed on their Facebook page. This is what we call social media snippets. So when we created the IES story, like I said earlier, we extract out some of the essence to form individual snippets, and we will do the promotion on social media channel. Like, let's say this one is on the left hand side, discovery of CMU Taiwan. This is a university, so we promote individual research paper for this university. So you could see we have a headline, and you will have a key phrases, and using some of the selected keywords to form all these key phrases to do the targeting. On the right hand side, zoological letters from this is from Japan. This one is from this is a publisher. Okay, this example is a publisher. They themselves is a publisher for zoology and entomology research. So the same, they selected like 10, 20 papers and to do the outreaching. So we do the curation and target this to their different authors related to their field. So this one is from BMC, one is from Springer Nature. So these are the things that if you ask me which style is the best, like like what kind of writing style should I use? Should I just use one sentence? Should I post it as a question? Should I use different image, or should I use like one sort of thing? All these things is only can be answered as you go along the way, unless because the topic and the audience could be very different across every subject area. Someone study in the medical, even in the cancer one, and someone from the zoology, the mindset somehow could be quite different. So there's one question: is IES story and social videos are sent to target audience? Yes, correct. So IES story is the base, and it's the one single highlight of the page. And from IES story, basically it's one platform. So we extract out from there to create some short snippets, whether it's posted on Facebook or Twitter, and we utilizes social media platform, like I said earlier, the ads to shoot out to the targeted communities to drive back the traffic back to IES story. And from IES story links back to the full text. That is the cycle. Okay, hope that's clear. So we can take a look at some other, this is actually one famous, I'm not sure you guys heard of this guy, Hashim Agali. This guy is from a Middle East country. I've forgotten what is his country. I think Yemen or something. From a Middle East country. His Facebook page, he's a science communicator as well as a open science practitioner. He do a lot of create a lot of graphics and videos to promote science and research as well. His page has about 32 million followers, 32 million followers people, but mainly his one target are public science. So as I said, we are not focusing on public science, but his one is mainly for public to understand. But you could see he could post something like this one, this research here, which you see under the comment there. There's a link to the research paper as well. So probably this guy, he would the researcher would just engage with him, ask him to create something and pay him for something. But their audience is mainly on the public to improve the visibility, to like the awareness among the public, not specified for researchers. So you could see the impact of this kind of outreaching thing. This article itself being downloaded almost 4,000 times online, and their outmetric score is above 300. So this indicates that this paper is heavily visible, and people are aware and talking about it within the online community. It could be someone posted on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or even blog, or even news media could have like promoted this content itself. So you could see that's the whole power of venturing into social media. Yep. So like we shared this is the last slide here. This one is basically from us. This is the work that we created from with both are our customer. And this one itself is the sample. So like I said, some people might feel that, okay, this guy is being in the market for over over decades, and he has a huge follower. It will be easier for him to do promotion. So if let's say you are to start it by yourself right now, whether you are a publisher, you want to create a page, how should you start? I could say that just to give you an insight, this Zoological Letters of Japan, we just signed up a project with us like last month. Okay, last month, and this one particular paper itself, you can see we just did 2 posting. We just started off like a couple of posts on social media. Just like last month, we just had 1 post, and you could start off by very minimum, very small amount. You do not need to like reach like 10 over 1,000 of people at the very beginning, because Facebook is very transparent. The more you pay them, the more your content will be visible. But you wouldn't be like pumping in like tons of money at the very beginning, because you do not know what is the results that you are getting. You're not familiar with your audience yet. So you will need a few rounds of optimization to start very small, to try out what are the people, what are able to capture your audience attention and so you could measure. You could start off by creating a simple post and post an ad and monitor it for 1 week or so, and you could see the results immediately. The whole good thing about social media is that you do not need to wait like years or months to know the result. You could know the results almost like after a week or 2 weeks time. You could see all the metrics, how many people have seen this post. So this particular story within this 2 months time have reached almost 5,000 people on Facebook, and out of this 5,000, there are 288 people click on the link and links to the IES story. And on Twitter itself, they reach 8,000 plus, but only 39 people click. So you could see there are a quick gap here. So probably we could analyze what has been wrong from the Twitter post itself. Why only 39 people click on it? Is there something wrong with the target audience, the group, the country, or is it the content writing style? What are the things that causing the bottleneck? So we need to find it out through the optimization and try a different ad next month. But after all, even though it's not as high as good, you will still get some results. Like you look at IES story, the views you get within this 2 months is 785, and we have 117 people clicking on it, divert them to the original source of publication to retrieve the full text itself. So you could see that there are always some of the things that you could monitor and measure to see whether is it working or is it not, but you still have to start somewhere. And social media is not something like it's not like magic. I mean, I need to manage the expectation right. Is that it's not some magical button that you just post and everyone would jump to you and to improve the readership and so on. But there are several implications of it, and which would leads me to the last session of my sharing, which is on the alignment. So a lot of people will think, wondering, after doing all these things, so what, right? The implication, does it create improve my citation? Does it improve my my branding and so on? So citation is definitely one important metrics, no doubt about that. So, but based on other analysis that we have done before with our clients in the past, we would dare to say that it would definitely improve the opportunity of citation, but there wouldn't be a guarantee of citation, because from these papers, let's say after 12 months, we analyzed that these papers, the overall citation count would increase ranging from 0 to 200%. So by average at 63%. And we do have an interesting thing is that papers that started with higher citation would have an increased rate of 25 to 40, but some papers, even after a period of 12 months, their citation could remain low or even 0. So what does that mean? Ultimately, what we could see is that whether or not people cite the paper, it's a lot more depending on the nature of the topic, how niche is the topic, and of course the quality of the paper itself, the quality of the finding. Because marketing promotion is an amplifier. I amplify whatever that is being published or whatever that is being written to wider audience, to let people know. But ultimately, when people saw it and they read it, they cite it or not, it could a lot depend on whether the quality of the paper itself, right? I mean, that I hope that is logical as well if you think about that. But the whole idea is that we still need to do this in order to get the first step to create the whole target audience. And what I would like to leave behind here is not only to focus on citation, because the whole okay, sorry. So the whole process, like you see when we started off by doing research planning, research outreach promotion is actually the middle part of it. So when doing this, when you talk about, even you want to lead it to impact itself, okay, so there are a lot of things, there are a lot more implication above citation as well. Let's say we talk about your paper might not get citation because, like I said, it depends on the nature of the topic or even the how niche is it. If someone is doing something on COVID-19 right now, or I believe that generally that paper would receive better readership and even better citation count just because of this whole phenomenon. It's a pandemic situation right now. But let's say if you're working on something very niche, like doing something like a batik shirt in a batik Indonesia shirt, is a very cultural centric heritage kind of research. The whole target audience would definitely be way much smaller. So and logically, the citation count would be way lower as compared to someone doing COVID-19 right now. So there's no direct competition towards that. But fair enough, another perspective that we could see is that the paper might not get citation, but you could also have a different influencing and on getting collaborators to do future work as well, because when we do all these outreaching activities, like I said earlier, you would leave behind a lot of footprints everywhere, and all these footprint, when you collect it up, is basically you could link up to multiple different kind of impact. So like you see in my slide right now, on the right hand side, you could probably influence someone from the government while doing the outreaching part. You could see someone from the funders, the different stakeholders, or if you are a publisher yourself, you could raise the eye, you could caught the eye of a media, a press. Someone could borrow your research, and they could cite it on, they wouldn't give you a citation, but they could cite it on their news article to give you a reputation or a branding and so on. So all these impact would not be available unless you do the promotion to get people to get people aware of your work, right? So that is still that is why we always still say this whole research outreach promotion is as an ongoing thing that you should, whether it's from the researcher or from the publisher perspective, it's still somewhat you have to link up with impact today. And when you talk about impact, a lot of previously in the past, we do not have any like indicator or any benchmark or guidelines. What is impact? Like we all know people talk about research need to deliver impact, need to have an impact to the society, need to solve certain problems. But the question is, who should provide the guidance? Many thanks to United Nations, they created this whole framework called the SDG, UN SDG, which basically helps to somehow created a workflow or framework for researchers to build the connection with the impact. But as far as I know, until today, there are a lot of, it's still at a very early stage of connection of the alignment is made, because there are a lot of it solely depends on the writing style of the research paper, to avoid sometimes like we do not want to like force marriage this whole thing. But what we can see is that if let's say you are doing on medical, let's say this paper on the left hand side, you could look and see they are doing on medical. Majority their citation would comes from someone on the falls under good health and well-being, which is SDG 3 itself. So, but does it mean that it does not apply or couldn't be linked up with other SDG as well? Not necessarily, but just that the whole connection is still quite weak now. And I think I will get our analyst, Dr. Han Wen, to elaborate a little bit more on this part here later on during the sharing. But here what I'm showing is basically examples that most cases when you are on doing one particular subject, it will links up to just one direct SDG. But however, there is this example here, this case that I wish to share is that you could see this paper itself, the citation actually comes from multiple areas of SDG. So this research is about, if not mistaken, is about the study on why Indonesia women that has breast cancer basically a bit reluctant or delay their time in seeking for medical treatment. So what are the psychological factors that involve? So in a direct SDG that applied would be good health and well-being because it's related to breast cancer and treatment. But on the flip side, they could also see that someone from quality education reduce inequality also cited this particular paper. So it actually portrays the whole diversity and multidisciplinary kind of approach, because people from quality education working, they could also something that this one is this lady is because they lack of education awareness that they need to seek medication as soon as possible as soon as possible in order to have a better treatment and improving their chance of survival. So it's actually it will affect the education quality as well. And reduce inequalities, there could be some sort of linkage as well. So the whole idea of this is that if you do not do promotion, you do not do the outreaching, you wouldn't be able to identify a different pool of audience that may use your content, your research to apply back in their work, right? So that's the summary of my sharing today. So the whole idea to just run through back, we do a lot of outreaching is to get to build eyeballs, to live around our traffic, and lastly, we need to create all this, aggregate all this footprint to get together impact evidences. Whereas from a publisher perspective, this would certainly build up your brand as well that would relate to social impact. I mean, a lot of publishers today are also trying to make a lot of alignments with SDG because they are some like becoming like the gold standard of impact today. So, yep, that would be my sharing. And right now, I would like to invite Dr. Han Wen Chang together just to have a quick 5 minutes chat, because Han Wen is from the analysis background. Myself is on the social media background. A lot of times we're trying to see how we could match the connection between social media data together with the scientific analytics data. So hi, Han Wen.
Hi, Casey.
How are you today?
Good, thank you.
So I think like while I was presenting, sometimes I do have a question in mind. It's like, from your analytics experience, do you think are researchers able to increase their citation by doing all these outreaching activities?
Yeah, I think this perhaps one of the most frequently asked questions by researchers if they want to pursue a better citation performance. And I think you already probably mentioned it in somewhere of your presentations. The short answer is yes, but I think because many study has shown that collaborative research, especially international collaborations, to bring a higher number of citations to publications.
Right.
However, it has to be reminded that there's no guarantee with such efforts. The reason why and co-author papers receive more citations because research collaborations are believed to improve the quality and the creative potential of a scientific paper, rather than just put someone, some other's name as a co-authors. Nevertheless, in some study, it is found that the citation advantage of collaborative publication is just because of self-citation by the author. And even though this is the case, it's true that, it still show the evidence that researchers will receive more citations if their professional work are expanded, the professional network are expanded. So yes, it could be increased their citations. Yeah.
Right. What are your thoughts when it comes to the relationship between, let's say, like visibility and impact? Like what I shared earlier, do you think there is a connection there? High visibility versus links to impact. Do you agree with what I shared just now?
Yeah, it's definitely, we do see the evidence that visibility will improve the citations. But again, as you mentioned, it still depends on the paper's quality and novelty, relevance, and so on. And in fact, from my viewpoints, association between the visibility and the citation is not new to researchers. Because researchers, I say that many researchers, they published in high impact factor journal. This kind of strategy is also based on assumption that such efforts will make their research more visible and aware by the wider audience. So therefore, they can increase the opportunity that their work will be cited. So yes, I would say that it's not a new idea, but I think because now we are in the kind of in digital marketing, area, so we can still leverage on this kind of concept. Yeah.
Right. Glad that I have your support as well. So I think I have one last question is that, like just now I mentioned, we do see that because now we understand there's an importance of how do we make the alignments with SDG, but however the linkage between, we could see like research publication between SDG is still kind of weak at this point of time. So if, let's say, in your opinion, like the researchers would like to start to make the alignments, what are the recommended steps or guidance that you could provide for them to proceed?
Okay. I think the linkage is weak because over the decades, most of the researchers focus on their impact on their colleagues or experts in the same fields. So the purpose for them is scholarly communications, which means that the author and the readers are pretty much at the same level of knowledge when they are, doing, they are communicating through the publications. But however, I think nowadays, more and more people start to look at the social impact of academic work, and the disciplines has been divided into more specific areas and topics. So it's important to highlight the impact and the possible applications on the research. So from my opinions, the writing style and the format of publications might not be changed immediately, but we already see some initiative or intentions to add extra information, such as PLS, plain language summary, and the graphical abstract, to present the highlights or connect the research with SDG impact. And even though this information is not shown in the original full text, there are various platforms for researchers to share the information with wider audience. Right. And this is perhaps for the publication that has been published. But if the researcher has some manuscript still on their hand to revise or to work on, I would suggest them to think about to include the probably link their research to some SDG statement in some ways, perhaps in introductions or conclusions to show the impact of the work. And with that effort, the existing search engine will be able to find the work when someone else search for materials for specific SDG.
Right. So what you mean is that you could basically even after they publish a paper, they could still like reframe it, like reposition it, right, to different
Yes.
kind of audience. Right. Okay. Thank you, Hanwen. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I think I'll pass back to Iris, our host, to ask if there are any questions from the floor.
Right. Actually, thank you for the informative sharing and the discussion, Casey and Hanwen. And actually, we do have a few unanswered questions in the Q&A bar. One is like, who is the target audience of the IES story, which I think you might touch it earlier on.
Yep.
But would you like to add some other thoughts on that?
Sure, certainly. I think this one, just now I highlighted the part where in general, IES story we still focus a lot on researchers in other discipline in general, because the whole idea is that we want to improve the readership of the full text where there's a linkage to the full text. So we do not do public science at the moment. With the obvious reason is that public, you mean like your parents, they definitely wouldn't read your full text, right? They are okay to know what you are doing, but they wouldn't go into the detail where they will read your full text. So we still focus heavily, the main pool of audiences are still researchers, but just that in other discipline. So because we are promoting multidisciplinary research collaborations from global universities, so that would be the main pool. And apart from that, we could still slide out a different from the IES story, we could slide out and repurpose the IES story into different some of different writing style that would be cater for additional stakeholders like funders, policy makers, and etc. So yep, that would be the target audience.
Right. Thank you, Casey. Another question is, you mentioned about the examples of using Facebook and Twitters. How about LinkedIn?
Right.
How do you suggest them to use LinkedIn to improve the visibility?
Right. There are, as in fact, actually, whichever platform that we use, that is not the main barrier. The main barrier is that there are basically two things: whether you use LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, or even YouTube or TikTok. I mean, it all depends on where your audience are, where the eyeballs are. So you will need to try it out to see whether which is the most effective. I mean, you could try out multiple at the very beginning to see where your audience are, because for some subjects, some audience, they might be very active on Twitter but not so on Facebook. Let's say, for example, I know in Japan, if let's say you want to target Japanese researchers that are in-house, if you use Facebook, it will still works, but the engagement rate might not be as high as you use on Twitter. Okay, but it comes to the back end, all the ads function, they works 80% the similar function. They all have aggregated their own big data. They have their own ads function, and also a price point is also a concern. LinkedIn, if not mistaken, is considered as the high side of the advertisement. It's like almost like 10 times higher, if not mistaken. Like Facebook, the minimum ad is like $1 per ad per day. LinkedIn one, it could be like up to $10 for one ad. So it's like the minimum amount is higher and not necessarily reach the same amount of reach you could get, mainly because of, for me, Facebook is considered as one of the cheapest because of their whole market size that they have. So because of their whole more 2 billion people compared to a few hundred million, so it's the range of price could be a budget, could be a constraint as well, but ultimately it's depend on where your audience are. But it's certainly, there's no like the best platform to use today.
Right. So it is all depends on the requirements and who are the target audience of, let's say, your publication. So it can be different platforms like WeChat, for example, if you want to target the customers or potential readers in China, for example. So it really depends on the needs and the market you would like to focus, right?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, thank you, Casey. So due to the interest of time, I would like to end the session here today. However, if you do have any more questions, please feel free to contact us or contact Casey. Casey, do we have the contact information in your slides?
Give me.
Okay, that is fine. You can use the chat box and leave your contact information to all, or you can reply the message from replying the invitation or the registration email, right? That is also in one option. So we welcome any further questions. At the meantime, thank you for your time and participation. We wish you a good day and please stay safe.
Yep.
Thank you. Casey, do you want to leave the
Yep.
contact information here?
Yep.
Or okay.
Leave it there,
Yep.
or you can just hear. Yep, easier.
Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you, and have the rest of the day enjoyable. Thank you.
Yep. Take care and stay safe,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.